So Bill Hutchison is hopping in here, which is cool. How are you, buddy?
Sorry. I'm well, thank you.
Good.
So I'd wondered if you'd actually considered loading like an emulator on your actual computer.
Dave, make sure for the audience you lock that.
Yeah, I'm going to lock that on Bill. Oh, that's cool.
So this is your School of Podcasting,
right?
And this is, I loaded the Podcast Addict browser because I know that you mentioned that one specifically.
Yeah.
And so those are your show notes.
What are you using to emulate this?
I tried a whole bunch of different ones because my son's actually learning to develop on Android in school. The one I found works best was called Nox Player.
Okay. Free to use, or is it paid?
It's free. I'm pretty cheap, so
we all are. Don't apologize. Nox Player, and so could you set this up and then put a bunch of the players, like save a bunch of the players, so you could from time to time go in and check and see how you're being seen in Overcast and in Pocket Cast and all these various sites on Android?
Yeah. So with this one, for example, the first one I tried loading was actually the Google one because I wanted to see what that one looked like. And so that just came up like this. And it's great because I can pretty much check a lot of different, any app really. And then I can load it in.
Are you in Windows or are you Mac?
This is Windows 10.
Okay, good. Now I have to try that. That's
Nox is P-N-O-X, or how do you spell that?
N-O-X and then player.
Very cool.
It's a great idea.
So I know, Dave, that you said specifically you wanted to look into that, so I thought I'd offer this as maybe an option for you.
Yeah.
Do they also allow you to emulate like a tablet size, or is it just a phone size screen?
You can choose. So you can choose phones, tablets.
And
you can set your resolution.
A single version of Android, or can you load in different versions of Android?
That is a great question.
Interesting.
This one's version. Oh, so I'm not sure if this is Android version or the Nox version.
Right. Yeah. It'd be an interesting question because there's so many flavors of Android that are out there. But Dave, you went out and bought a player to do this,
and it still doesn't work. Yeah. I bought I bought this Samsung.
Bill, I'm going to do this, by the way. This is a great reminder to have an Android emulator.
I bought this Galaxy Tab E Lite, and it doesn't play when I finally got to install Pocket Cast on this, it was like, yeah, this may not work on your version of Android. And I'm like, well, that's, and I get that on everything I try to load. So that's what you get for going for the cheapest thing you can find.
Totally. Hey, Bill, for the average guy setting this up, the average podcaster, so to speak, pretty easy to set up, pretty easy to, or are there any techie things that someone would need to know?
This one was quite easy. There was a lot. There's dozens of emulators out there, and I tried quite a few. This was the one that I found was the easiest. Now, if you look here, it's quite an old Android version, 4.4.2, so it's very old.
And I wonder if there's options to update that or to run the newer versions, whatever.
Yeah, there might be. I just haven't gotten that far into it.
No, right on. I think this is a good. If you don't have an Android device and you want to see, have you tried anything for iPhone from an emulator, or has it just been Android?
I've just played around with the Android because that's what my son was learning in school. So,
yeah, no, cool. It's a great idea. So you can, in the emulator, does it save state? In other words, if you've made changes to the Android platform you're emulating and you fire it back up, is it in the same place as it was when you left it? Okay.
Yeah. So like all the apps that I've previously loaded have stayed there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Dave,
all
this would be handy for you, by the way.
Advertising, but
yeah, this would be super handy for Dave as you're thinking about talking through the various players on the platform.
And making tutorials. Like if I want to make a tutorial on how to subscribe to my show in Google Podcasts, it's like, oh, hold on, now I got to make screenshots.
All right, I'll pop out now, but just thought that might be something to help you out.
Yeah.
Well, and where can we find your podcast?
I run a few different podcasts. The one that I probably produce the most is the YWAM podcast. So that's a Youth of the Mission news podcast.